Hey everyone, meet Kevin here. Today I'm super excited to be talking to David Lecko about not only what the heck is going on in the real estate market today, but also what the heck is Biden going to be doing and what are some of the implications going to be of this, from 1031 exchange maybe going away to Biden's $15,000. We'll talk inflation, lack of inventory, what to do about it. Is it worth investing in real estate right now? David Lecko is the founder of DealMachine.com. I'm super excited to bring him on board to get his insights as an industry expert into the real estate industry. So without further ado, welcome aboard, David. Thank you so very much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on, Kevin. It's great to be here.
Absolutely. So tell me, what's going on out there right now? I hear all of the time. I've got folks in the real estate investing course every day. They're wondering, Kevin, I just can't find deals. Should I just YOLO everything into GameStop because that worked until it didn't? What do people do?
Oh man, that's a great question. Where are we at today? So one of the people that I listen to is Ray Dalio, and he has this video called How the Economic Machine Works. And he talks about the fact that there are short-term debt cycles and long-term debt cycles. So before I think about real estate, I like to kind of zoom out and look at that as a whole. And basically, there are 10-year short-term cycles, and then there's longer-term cycles that are 50 to 75 years apart. So examples of those long-term cycles would be like the Great Depression in 1929 or the crisis of 2008. So if you subscribe to that model, we are not in a long-term cycle event. That shouldn't happen for a while. But, since 2010, things started to get better, and they continued to get better through the entire decade. So that brings us to the 11th year here in 2021. So if you subscribe to that, you would think we're due for a downturn, but I don't think it'll happen in 2021. So excited about getting into some of that with you.
Yeah, definitely. So, okay, so you're thinking that based on sort of Ray Dalio's model that 2008 was kind of the next long-term debt cycle event after the Great Depression. Now, maybe we're due for a shorter-term one, though, in the real estate market, because even though we had this recession here from COVID, real estate just went straight up.
It did, and there's several factors. But if you just break it down to the simplest, which is how I like to think about things, is that the supply of homes is low and the demand for homes is high. So that means the prices should continue to rise.
Right. And how sustainable is this, though? Because we keep seeing, affordability go through, or basically lack of affordability increase in cities throughout the country. There are people fleeing California to go to places like Colorado and Texas and Florida or Vegas, and the people who live there are like, what the heck are you doing? You're driving up all my prices. How can I afford to live here now? How sustainable is this? Is this just are we just waiting for Jerome Powell to raise rates to destroy this market, or is that not going to happen?
So I don't have the crystal ball about when that we might see a downturn. I think it's inevitable that at some point we will, but I just don't think it'll happen in 2021 for a few reasons. So let's talk about supply and demand and break that down a little bit. So, the supply of homes is low, which means people aren't listing their homes as much as they were. And I think that's because people are incentivized to stay where they are. They don't want people in their house during a pandemic. But the demand has increased for a few different reasons. I think one reason is because these 24-hour cities like Chicago and New York City have really high unemployment rates. So people are moving from those cities to suburban areas into single-family homes. And so that trend is pushing the demand higher. Also, I've seen some institutional buyers move into the single-family home arena. So like I know in your video a year ago on Wedge Deals that everyone's familiar with, you were like, hey, single family is not a great percentage of investors compared to duplexes, multifamilies. But I'm seeing more and more that institutional investors are moving into single family. So that's pushing demand up. And then we've got the low interest rates. So money's really cheap. And then, those people are further incentivized to just get the money that they need to buy homes, and they can afford more because the money's cheaper.
I mean, that's amazing. I now I feel like I shouldn't have made that video. I feel like I tipped him off here. So yeah, I did hear about this though. It was, I think, BlackRock partnering with Lennar or something going on where yeah, I keep hearing more and more of these stories of these larger companies not only looking to get into sort of the used home single family space, but also partnering to build new single family communities, because there is this flight to the suburbs right now, and I think people in real estate see that as such a great opportunity almost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. And I think the reason why I'm saying this will continue in the short term is because with the new Biden administration, there's a couple of things they're doing to increase the demand and keep the supply low. So one is this 1031 exchange. And if you're not familiar, the 1031 exchange currently allows people to sell their home and use the money to purchase another home without paying taxes on the profits from the initial sale. So if Biden gets rid of the 1031 exchange, it could further discourage people from actually selling their homes. So that's on the supply side. And then on the demand side, he's talked about adding a $15,000 incentive for first-time home buyers. So that would increase the demand side even further if those two things were instituted. So that's why I think one reason is why this will continue through the year.
Yeah, I mean, that's so interesting, because if they get rid of the 1031 exchange, I mean, this is one of the big ways that investors in real estate hop from property to property to property, because essentially you would never have to pay taxes. You could buy a home, live in it if you want, how you start, or not, rent it out, and then keep trading that property for a bigger single family or a bigger one, or go to a multifamily or go to a big multiplex, and basically bury your tax gains forever. And then, you know, when that day comes around that you get hit by a bus or something like that, your children can inherit the property with a stepped up tax basis. And basically you screw the government out of ever paying a dime in taxes, something that you actually can't do with stocks. There is no 1031 exchange for stocks. Or like, if I trade my Tesla for a Lucid Motors, even though it's like, hey, similar industry here, I got to pay taxes. Yeah. So that's made real estate such a phenomenal tool. And out here in California, certainly I'm looking at, hey, the last thing I want to do is pay taxes on anything. So if there was no 1031 exchange, I feel like any investor who owns a home is like, nope, not selling it. I'll just keep it, because the gains are going to be ridiculous, or the taxes people are going to have to pay. Unless, of course, there'd be like a flurry of maybe sales right before that law came into effect. But that seems like it'd be a little short-term stimulus, and then we'd be right back to a lack of demand. What do you think?
Yeah, I actually am not too worried about like a short-term blip like that, because personally, I'm more focused on building a rental portfolio. And I think that's your strategy too, right? Is that still your strategy? So for
absolutely,
me, the 1031 exchange is not a tool that I've personally used. But I know that there are a lot of investors that we serve at Deal Machine who do use that. But yeah, like I said, for my portfolio, I'm not discouraged by that at all. If anything, you know, it's going to keep the prices going up, which increases my equity in my properties.
Right. Because sure, I mean, less people will be motivated to sell. Without a doubt, they'll keep these portfolios longer term. Yeah, that's true. I think that kind of feeds right back into, hey, another reason we'll have less demand, or I'm sorry, more demand and less supply, because less people would be selling. Yeah, I agree with that. And one of the things that I've always thought about with my portfolio is, you know, it'd be so wonderful if, you know, I've got some properties that we own now for coming up on 10 years. And part of me is like, those are like 2010 remodels. How cool would it be if I could sell that to like the tenant that lives there, so I don't have to pay some fees, and then go buy another deal that I found hopefully off market, and then sort of move into this new renovation that I could do. That way I don't have to re-renovate that place in the future. But yeah, if that 1031 goes away, I won't be selling, and that tenant could be another buyer on the market competing for the same properties with me, which is weird, because then in some sense it really feels like Biden is encouraging not only low interest rates. Janet Yellen's coming in as Treasury Secretary. She's a big, time low interest rate fanatic. What negative catalysts do we have? Because right now, if I line it up, low rates, people go into the suburbs. If the 1031 goes away, that's even less supply. All these things are creating more demand. The 15K homebuyer incentive, that's more demand. Everything just points to basically putting more air into the bubble, so to speak. At what point do we have to be nervous? I mean, it just seems like it's so tough to get in right now. What do we do?
I think that whenever you're saying like, what is the thing that could cause this, a bubble to pop, for example, one of those factors for me is inflation. And 40% of the inflation calculation is actually rent prices. So I think that if rent prices don't increase to, keep up with the inflation that may happen, we haven't seen a ton of it happen. But when you print a lot of money, the value of each of those dollars, goes down. We just haven't seen that yet. So I think that's one thing to watch is inflation going up? And if so, are the rent prices also keeping up with that? Because if they don't, then the return on those homes, the value of those homes would go down. But there's an exciting part of this inflation too, that I wanted to bring up is like the money's so cheap right now. If you anticipate that inflation will occur because so much money's been printed, I'm thinking about, should I borrow as much money as possible to buy assets? Because if I borrow $1 to buy a dollar asset and then inflation occurs, which means the value of that dollar gets cut in half, but the price of my asset is now $2, I only have to pay back $1 because I got the loan at the time before that inflation occurred. So that's one thing that I'm personally thinking about is, should I be more aggressive with the leverage that's available to me?
You're really burning the candle at both ends of the stick by when inflation happens, the value of your property goes up, but the value of your debt goes down. It's brilliant. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's somewhat how I feel right now too. I mean, even though stocks have been so entertaining last year, it almost feels like it's like, how often can we keep seeing a 2020 to where this year already, I've been in 3 closings for myself, and I'm excited to I want to see if I can beat last year, and I want to blow up my portfolio this year. But it's amazing. I'm finding stuff that's hitting the market, and people are putting stuff on the market for these insane prices. And right now I'm doing everything I can to try to find things off market, whether that's beating up agents or literally sending mailers with Deal Machine. I want to know though, what are you seeing? Like how are people that you're working with who are getting started that are like, I want to build my real estate portfolio too. How are they getting started? Like what are they knocking on doors? What are the successful things that they're doing?
Sure. Yeah. For those that are brand new to the industry, they are starting in one of 2 ways. So if they have good credit, they're typically doing a house hack. They're buying a house and they're renting out 4 bedrooms and they're starting to build their rental portfolio. The other way is if they don't have the credit that's necessary for that, or maybe they don't have the cash to put down on a house right now, they're doing what's called direct to seller marketing. And they're looking for those wedge deals that you've identified. With a twist, though, they're actually going direct to the seller, then looking for those homes built before 1978 that need repairs that are listed. So the way they're doing that is called driving for dollars. They're looking for properties that look run down, and then they are figuring out who owns them. They are marketing to the homeowners, often with direct mail, saying, hey, we can buy your house. We'll offer more than what the flippers do, which could be Open Door, Redfin, Zillow. And that is how they are providing value to those homeowners and getting in on their first deal. Then once they fix it up, they've still got an equity cushion on top. So they have instant value that they've added, even if they don't have like a ton of money. So, but if they don't have money to take it down themselves, they'll do what's called wholesaling it, which I know that you've covered too, but they find the property the same way through driving for dollars. Just once they get it under contract, they then sell it to somebody like you or somebody like me, even one of those institutional buyers that probably buys it even higher than you or I could, so the wholesaler can make a bigger fee there. So those are 2 ways that people are starting out that I'm seeing.
Tell me a little bit more about wholesaling. I mean, for somebody watching today that is looking for a side hustle, maybe they've got a job, but they've got plenty of spare hours. Can you still make money wholesaling these days, or are all the real estate agents desperate for these deals? Or tell me more about wholesaling. How do people get started in that?
Sure. I think you can make more money wholesaling today than in prior years. because those institutional buyers are trying to scoop up as many single family homes as possible. They're willing to pay for a finder's fee. I think, let's see, wholesalers, I lost my train of thought there for a little bit.
Oh, no worries. Yeah. So getting started in wholesaling. So basically, like, you don't have to have a real estate license, which is so exciting about that. Basically, if somebody wants to wholesale, the goal is to find a place maybe for, say, $300,000 where they knocked on the door, or they sent them a postcard or whatever, probably more postcard because COVID, people are nervous. But send them something. And then they field a call from the person that might be, hey, I'm interested in selling my house. Their goal is to try to educate that seller why they might be able to sell to them, but they're not actually buying it. They're going to resell it to someone else through like a double escrow or something like that. Getting started, are you seeing more and more people enter this field successfully today?
Yeah, more than I've ever seen, actually. One analogy that helps me understand what wholesaling is like a pawn shop. And, at a pawn shop, if you have a guitar, you know that they're not going to pay your top price, but you just want to get rid of it, get the money, and like not have to deal with it. So wholesaling, you being a wholesaler is like being a pawn shop for houses, where the seller knows they're not going to get the best price with you, but you can provide that speed and convenience by just taking it off their hands as is, and then turning around and selling that contract to buy that house to somebody who has the money to take it down, to purchase it, and then do those renovations on it.
I think that's a really good analogy. How does somebody start a pawn shop though? I mean, do they just like one day wake up and go, that's it, I'm gonna start knocking on doors, I'm starting sending postcards to fixer-uppers that on the outside, like the things that I like to look for, I look on the outside of a house, I'm like, asphalt driveway, old windows, crusty looking roof, and paint that looks 30 years old. That looks like a house that probably is dated on the inside too. They're getting a door knock or a postcard. What, like, is that all it takes? Is driving around looking for those?
That's the first step. And you need to start looking for those houses that look run down. I would suggest find 300 to 1,000 of those rundown looking houses and start marketing to those owners that you would like to buy their house, or asking them if they'd like to receive an offer on their house. And this is how I got into real estate investing myself. It's the whole reason why I created Deal Machine. It was like a tool for myself originally, not even like an app somebody else could download, but you could pin the house, see who owns the property, and then follow up by sending a postcard automatically from the app. When I was starting out, that follow-up was like the issue, the problem that I had. And I missed out on a couple deals because some of those houses I wrote down were then purchased by somebody else, and I saw renovations starting, and I was like, oh man, I didn't.
That's the worst.
Follow up with that person myself. But yeah, to break it down, I mean, that's the first step, is just getting out there, finding those homes, and then marketing to those homeowners.
Got it. And I mean, with where we are in the real estate cycle right now, is there a risk to wholesaling? I mean, I guess if you're not owning it, you don't really have a risk if you're a wholesaler. But if you're looking to buy, you do, because you're holding it. But it also sounds like you're not thinking we're close, certainly not this year, to kind of a real estate bubble popping. Maybe let's connect those two. So wholesaling risks and then owning risks.
Gotcha. So if you're wholesaling, what you're doing is you're spending your time looking for those homes, and then you're spending marketing dollars, presumably, to reach those homeowners. And that's pretty much the extent of your risk, because you're not holding an asset. What happens to the prices of those assets, or what happens to the value of the US dollar, doesn't affect your business if you're wholesaling. Does that make sense? Your question?
Yeah, because I mean, really, you're trying to sell it to other folks. So, what's the best way to find these other folks to sell it to? So, let's say you find 300 fixer-uppers in the neighborhoods you live around, and some of them start reaching out and saying, "Hey, I'm interested in selling. What can you pay for my place?" Maybe walk us through a little bit. How do people, turn these around to someone else? Do they call agents? Do they, create kind of an investor list somehow? Tell me about that a little bit if somebody's thinking about getting into that as a business.
Yeah. So the way that I approached that was I attended some meetups, and those meetups may not be happening right now because of COVID. So those people are still around in communities online though. So you could search for, Indianapolis investment deals, because that's my city, but just switch out for your city. And you'll probably find 10 plus Facebook groups of people that are looking to buy single family homes. So the very first thing you could do is you could post a deal that you have gotten under contract there, and you will find people that will be interested in buying that property. There's something else going on too, though, that I've noticed. Like, if you start talking to people in those groups, like, hey, who's buying a lot of these homes? Who's buying like 30 per month, which is stuff that people do. That blew my mind at first. I was like, who could buy 30 homes at once per month? Right. But like here in Indianapolis, there's this company called SFR3 that's really well known. They've got an established buying criteria. They'll just buy your house extremely quickly because they're trying to take down 100 per month. And so they're willing to pay a bit more than like the traditional flipper would, but you've got to find that person in your city, and they're there. The right place to start finding who that is in those communities, those meetups or those Facebook groups, talking with other investors to figure out who those people are.
Got it. So really, what you could do is, let's say, and I pulled up an example. I'm going to pull up an example here. I've got Deal Machine up here. And so what's so neat about this, and I've been using this over the past few months here. There we go. So I've got Deal Machine up here. And what I did is I drove through this neighborhood, and I realized that there were a couple houses that I already pinned here that were fixer-uppers on the outside. What I really enjoyed about using this app, because I got to just interject and say this myself really quick. What I found as somebody who's constantly trying to buy properties is, like, how am I going to follow up with all these places? I barely have time to do anything in the day. And so in the past, I drive by a place and I'm like, oh, I'll just take a picture of that. And someday in the future, maybe I'll manually write them a letter, or I'll call them, I'll white pages them or whatever. But the problem I found was I would never do it. And I'm trying to, I want to 10x my real estate portfolio from, now we're at 23, 24 properties with the new from this year already. I want to see a 200 property portfolio here. So I want to be sending out thousands of mailers. I don't have the time to manually follow up with all these people. And so it's interesting that really, you could use your app that you guys have created, because you created this as somebody wanting to build your own portfolio, which is so cool, because I think of that myself as, hey, if I want to create my own portfolio or I want to wholesale myself, why don't I have an app that makes things simpler for me? And you kind of have that. So I'm going to demonstrate that here really quick, if you don't mind for a second, because I think it's so cool. So this is on my iPhone right now. And let's say this corner house right here, 5301, is a fixer. I could just click on this and I've already got their contact info here, or at least their names, it's owner occupied, when it last sold, and that, and I can add them as a lead, and that's it. They're now going to start getting my postcard, which, there we go, campaign has already started. I mean, this is incredible. If I skip trace here, I could get their phone number, but see, they've got my next mailer going out. Your mailer is in the sending queue. Your mail will be printed at 12:29 p.m. I mean, this is crazy easy. I literally, I don't even know that I want to send them one, but why not? I'm just going to send this person one too and go add lead. I mean, this is intoxicating. I've now just added 2 people that are going to be getting mailers on my list of hundreds of people who are getting mailers. All I did was push a freaking button. Like, now they're getting a mailer every 21 days from me for the next 12 months. Like, this is insane. How are more people not using this?
Hey, maybe they don't know about it. The thing that is, I'm glad to see you having so much fun with it. And it's exactly the situation why I created it, because I was just really kicking myself for not following up with these properties I had written down. To your point, you intend to call them, but if you found it on the way to the store while driving, you probably will forget to follow up with it. And that's why I built the tool, to have the mail be able to send right from the phone and to repeat the mail so that I don't forget, because I know, in sales, you've got to repeat, you've got to reach out multiple times. And so I knew that was important to me. So I'm really glad to see you geeking out about it too.
No, I love it. The other thing, so I want to ask you now some details about this, so some numbers here and that. But first, I've come up with this a comparison here because I see really two users here. I see one user, actually potentially three users. So the first user is probably going to be a little bit more smaller scale, and I think of this first user as somebody who hasn't gotten into real estate yet. And something that I did when I started, like owned zero properties, and I just wanted to get my first deal. Something that I see as a first user example is somebody who, writes a small little snippet. They put their picture on a postcard, which they can do with Deal Machine, mettkevin.com/deals. But what they can do is they can put their picture on and a little snippet, a little blurb. My father-in-law always talked to me about this. He goes, people like a heartfelt letter almost from somebody who's trying to get started. And so I see this first user case where maybe you get somebody who says, I don't own a home yet. Everything feels expensive. I want to get started. I'm going to pick a neighborhood that I want to live in. And I'm going to send a postcard to all, maybe 200 houses that look a little beat up in this little circle here. And I'm going to bombard these folks. They're going to get my postcards. Maybe they even combine with knocking on the door in the future. Maybe they don't even have to do that. But now people are getting their face and their letter like, hey, I'm just trying to get into my first home. Would you consider it? We could save on realtor fees if you sell it to me directly. Would you be open to selling to somebody as is looking to get started? My father-in-law always said that somebody starting like that can almost be really endearing, especially to those folks who have lived in their homes for 30, 40 years. Maybe they're empty nesters, like they're thinking about moving out anyway. So I see that as sort of use maybe case one. And that's the person getting started or that home buyer. Then I see the wholesaler who's looking for these deals. They don't actually want to buy them themselves. They want to make 5-10 grand. They find a good deal. They call up somebody like me or maybe some real estate agents or some investors from those clubs at the Facebook groups. And they're like, hey, I got a good deal. Kick me back 5 grand and I'll make sure you get this deal. I'll assign it to you. So there's the wholesaler to where they're actually making a living flipping these properties without ever actually buying them. And then there's that third scenario where somebody's literally just trying to, like kind of what I'm trying to do, vortex all the deals they can and own them all themselves. Like, what kind of division do you see on your app between these three different types of users? Talk to me about that a little bit.
I think that's brilliant. So the first user is somebody that wants to buy their home and they're appealing to the endearing nature of their story, directly so that it can save some of those fees with a realtor. Number two is then the wholesalers that are looking to make $10,000. That's definitely the majority of our users today.
Wow.
Is people that are trying to do wholesaling. And then I would say about 20% of our users are people like you that are trying to vortex all of the deals that they can get. And there's a software package inside of Deal Machine that is all about managing drivers, because your time's probably more valuable than what you could pay a driver, $20 an hour, maybe 25 in California. But we've got a lot in this software that people who are trying to vortex the market would want to see route tracking. Where did their drivers go? How many properties did they add? What are the pictures of those properties? Make sure they're adding the right types. And then even the ability to send your drivers on a route that you define. Let's say you're like, hey, I like these $300,000, ranches with 2 baths and 3 bedrooms. You could plug that into the app and your drivers could be led on a path to cover in the most efficient route how to run by every single one of those houses and then snap a picture of the house run down. But that's how it breaks down. I don't see the first use case. I would love to see more of that because I think there's a lot there and that's really smart. We just didn't think of it yet.
Yeah, I mean, Lauren and I, we live in this one neighborhood in our city where we don't want to live in any other neighborhood. The problem is there are so few properties in this neighborhood. So what we did is, in combination with our others to find rentals throughout the city, the first thing we did when we opened the app was we peppered every house that we would want to live in ourselves in the future with these so that they get bombarded with these as well. So yeah, I think anybody who's trying to find their own place too should be doing that at the very least as well. But so wholesalers and this driving thing, COVID has changed things a little bit. And you were mentioning there's so many new tools. I mean, some of these, it sounds like you could be like a UPS driver and get your whole route mapped out, which is amazing. What tools are there if somebody doesn't want to go driving around and, they're at home and they're like, look, I want to do what Kevin just did. I know there's a fixer over there. Or maybe I'm going to use Google Maps. How do I get a picture of these places? What can you tell people in a situation like that?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the pandemic, we heard people say they're pulling open Google Maps. They're looking for homes that look run down that way instead of driving in their cars. And then they would have a second window open where they would like add those properties in a deal machine to be able to handle the mailers, get the information about the owner. And we created a Chrome extension. So that way, instead of two windows, you can just have Google Maps open. The deal machine Chrome extension would allow you to quickly add the house that you're currently looking at. And from there, the owner would be looked up, the mail would be started in the same way that you had shown for those that don't want to go out driving and just want to stay at home. So that is available. And it seems like you've been doing the two window method. We've got to teach you and show you the Chrome extension.
Yeah, I'm going to try to pull that up right now because that is something that I've been doing. And there's a little bit of a problem sometimes with Google Maps in that you sometimes you get like I think the last time our Google Street View car was like 3 years ago that they drove through here. And so I think that driving feature is like definitely something that's like, oh my gosh, that is so cool. But me personally, I'm like, if somebody was a fixer 3 years ago, I think there's probably a 95% chance there's still a fixer upper today. So I'm like, no way, I must sit here at my computer and I want to pepper as many properties as possible that I see that are fixers with these mailers. And a property is not going to become a fixer over 3 years, So like if you're a fixer then, I'm pretty sure you were a fixer or you're probably still a fixer. So I'm totally excited to just go in there and look around on Google Maps and find these fixers. Certainly even like, let's see, I'm just hunting around right now, for example. I mean, you have to give Google credit in that the high resolution nature of these properties that you could see just by zooming around here in Google. I mean, this is kind of fun. I mean, I see these, more remodel properties. I kind of skip by these, but see, this place got a dumpster in front. Nope, not anymore. Oh, here we go. See, like this excites me. I go over here and I'm like, look at this right here. We've got original windows. We've got a pretty crappy ridge cap right here. You see that jaggedness on the ridge cap right here? Original windows. You've got some dead grass. You got the old driveway right here. I mean, this right here is a property. I want to pin this. So you have a Google Chrome extension that I could just push a button and do this through Google Chrome with, huh?
Yeah. And if you want to find it, it links to your existing account. I'll just open a new tab, search Deal Machine Chrome extension. It'll bring you to the page to download it. And then you could just sign in with your existing Deal Machine account.
Oh, that's exciting. I like that. Thank you for that. Yeah, that's fun. So I'm concerned though. I mean, are people not nervous about I mean, I guess if you're wholesaling, you don't actually have to care about like a market crash because you're selling these to other people. But even you're still buying property. So you're personally not concerned about a market crash coming. You just think Biden's going to keep making it such that we're going to keep having more and more demand and less inventory, huh?
Yeah. And my goal is long-term as well. And right now I'm going to continue buying. And if there was a market crash, I would love to continue buying. And I just think, for the long term, I'm trying to build a rental portfolio that supports me through years and years to come. So we take the approach of just, people will say like dollar cost averaging. I think now is a really great time to buy. If that market did crash, I would like to buy more. And so for me and my strategy, I'm continuing to buy.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So, okay, it looks like I just added this Chrome extension here. We're gonna try this live. So we're putting you on the spot here because I haven't used this, but I want to. So this is that house right here. I just added this pin thing here. So it looks like select property. So it looks like this is the one. Let's see, 109 Mills. Let's zoom in to make sure here. So what you're saying is I could just be here on Google Maps. Like all I did was go to maps.google.com. We got 109 Mills here. I click this little thing here. I don't even have the app open anymore. Now I'm just using this tool here. And let's see where I saw it. And now I do. Oh, there it is. 109 Mills. I'm going to click on this. Okay. So Eric and Carol live here. Start mailers because it's obviously they're a success. Seriously, that's it?
That's it.
Dude, I'm going to be doing that this afternoon. That's actually really exciting because I do want to blow up my portfolio. And I agree with what you're saying that, you know, even if there's a market correction, something that's so exciting about real estate to me is the tenants are paying the bills for me. You know, even out here in California where the cash flow is not like, you know, in Indianapolis, which you had mentioned earlier, out here in California, the tenants are still paying the bills for me. I got these large equity properties that every month my principal's getting paid down on each deal, like $500, $6,000 a year. And I'm pretty much doing nothing. I just want to keep adding to these. Is that kind of your belief too, that even if we have a market crash, it's just gonna be an opportunity?
Yes. And I think to your question before about what is the risk of a market crash, I think the person with the biggest exposure to that is somebody who's flipping homes. And let's say they have 5, 10, 15 houses on their books that they own that are not rented out because they're dumping money into them to fix them up and flip them. So if they get caught, if this huge crash were to happen while they had all that inventory, their business would be in trouble because they have all these assets and the price just plummeted on all of them. And they may not have the cash to then finish those projects and then sell them. So those to me are the people who are most exposed to the risks of a market crash.
That's interesting. I mean, really, because the flippers, sometimes I look at deals that flippers buy just off the MLS and I'm like, dude, how are you paying that much for that property? You're going to get screwed. Sometimes I see this. I'm like, this doesn't make sense at all. But then the market appreciates, you know, in the time that they do the renovation, especially this last year. And by the time they sell the property, it's worth like $100,000 more than they thought it was going to sell for. And here they are walking away with you know, an $80,000 paycheck or something. I'm like, oh man, either they got lucky or they knew this appreciation was coming or something. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, like the flippers, the opposite could happen as well. You could get caught on a crash as a flipper, but you don't have that risk at all as a wholesaler. Or if you're a long run buy and holder, whatever, you just see it as an opportunity to dollar cost average, huh?
Mm-hmm. I do. Yeah. And especially if you're buying deals with the wedge strategy, then you have a lot more cushion between the loan you took out and what the property was actually worth at that time. So that's a much safer way to buy the properties. If you've secured the loan and you know that the price of rent will cover that mortgage every month. So the way you're buying it is a safe way to hold those assets.
Right. Absolutely. Get that nice 30-year fix. I'm addicted to this already. I mean, look at this. Look at this place right here. This is so juicy. First of all, this roof is disgusting. I mean, it is tattered and destroyed. I could see peeling paint from the street here. Come on, man. There's no chimney cap over here. You've got the overgrown weeds. You've got the cracked driveway. I mean, the paint just looks, I mean, even zoomed out, it just looks like a problem. We're going to try this again here. So let's see here. We're going to zoom in and now I didn't take a picture of this place. So what's going to be on my postcard on 1739 here? What's going to be on there?
Well, it's going to automatically add the Google image that you're seeing on this Chrome extension in that case.
So this picture, this little diagram they're showing me here, they're automatically going to get a picture like that. So they'll see their own house when they get a mailer and my face on top of it, basically.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, look at even the garage door is rotten. I could see the rust from here on the railing. I mean, this is exciting, and I didn't have to get off my butt. I didn't have to do anything. I mean, here I am having an interview, and I'm tagging properties.
Multitasking at its finest.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. So, I mean, sorry, I gotta add this one too. I mean, look at this. So they're just what does it cost to start these mailers, though? I mean, like. Obviously, it's going to cost me some money to do this.
Sure. Our strategy has been to bring the price down as low as possible. And let me pull up our pricing page just to make sure I'm quoting you the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. While you do that, I mean, just so everybody kind of knows what I'm looking at, chain link fences, that's a maybe for me. Something like this here, this is something I would not send a mailer to. And the USPS has something that's like every door direct mail, and the problem is you're sending mailers to these places that are so fixed up. I don't want to do that. I don't want to send mailers to places that are this fixed up. And look at this. This place looks like it's almost a flip with that red door. I mean, with the exception of the plywood there on that window, that's a pretty nice paint scheme they've got here. Probably not going to send them a mailer. I'm going to be looking for some more of these fixers over here. So while I keep looking for another fixer here, it sounds like you may have that pricing ready.
Yes, it's 55 cents a mailer. And
Okay.
if you have that package for people who are trying to vortex the market, we call that like the enterprise subscription. Then it goes down to 49 cents per mailer. So that's like a color mailer, printed, includes the postage, and it also includes tracking about if that mail has been delivered or not. You can actually get a push notification to let you know, hey, it just got scanned at this final destination post office. It should be delivered today. Get ready in case your phone rings.
Oh, that's super exciting. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. And are you finding that people, when they get these mailers, do they often go to a website? Do they call, or what's the most common response you get from people who are who are sending mailers to properties?
Yeah. So I put the phone number on there. Most frequently, people are going to call or text back, but I also put my email, and I also put a landing page that I have available, leckoproperties.com. So that way they can connect with me in whatever way they feel most comfortable with. So I feel like that's important. Having a website is not required, but if you have one, there is a spot to put that on there as well.
Got it. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. And how are you making money? Because that mailer, I can't send mailers for, I mean, like, you take me a lot of work to send mailers for 55 cents. Like, how do you guys make money?
Yeah, we don't really necessarily make money on the mailers. There's a software subscription for this piece that we're looking at here is 49 or 99 a month. So the way that we continue to improve the software is from the fees collected on those subscriptions. And the value for buying that is the speed of being able to, pin these houses, send out the mail, have that mail sent out, have the photo put on there, et cetera.
Wow. Now, so you've got a lot of wholesalers. What expectations do people have? So they get in, they start wholesaling. My camera. There we go. They get in, they start wholesaling. What expectations should people have in terms of, people get mailers all the time from, Chick-fil-A and Domino's. Like, what expectations do people have of actually hearing something back? What amount of properties should they be tagging? What should they think about starting to spend when they start, trying to find these properties off market? Because I mean, even there's a question here, and I know I'm beating you up with questions here, but there's so many that I have. Teo here says, any useful feature for real estate agents? If not, will there be in the future? I mean, personally, I feel like what I just did is perfect for a real estate agent, but I don't know. You tell me more.
I would yield to you for the agent use case because you know that even better than I do. But I think, the original question was, what are the numbers that you should anticipate needing to spend, which is an important question. Because the worst thing is if you spend some money without the expectation and then give up too soon, right? And then you never met that expectation in the first place. In the Midwest, 300 rundown houses is what you need to find. And you need to reach out to those owners at least 3 times over the course of 3 months. You're saying 21 days, that's perfect. So the total investment there would be like $800 if you include the $99 software subscription and the cost of that mail in order to get a deal. And if you're wholesaling it, expect to make, $5,000, $10,000 profit. Now in California, where the prices are higher, it kind of scales up, but the reward is greater. So it's worth it, but you just need to have the expectation. Instead of 300 homes, you're probably looking at like 1,000. You want to add 1,000 properties, but you want to mail to them 3 times each still. But then instead of making, $5,000, $10,000 wholesale fee or equity, it's more like $30,000, $40,000. So the investment is larger. You might need to spend $2,000, including all those mailers, maybe even $3,000, but the payoff is much greater. So that's why it's important to have the right expectation. And again, to clarify, it just depends on the price of the market. So here in the Midwest, low price, find 300. Out in California, higher price, find 1,000. And if you're in Atlanta, it's probably somewhere in the middle, because that's how the markets are priced.
So if I'm a real estate agent or a wholesaler, the goal here is really to find deals off market. And so as an agent, you could find these deals off market and maybe list them. As a wholesaler, you can flip them to an investor. And me as primarily trying to buy as many of these as possible, I can try to vortex up as many of these as I can, but it's going to take probably 3 to 6 months for people to start really responding to the postcards, where people start getting used to your face is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. So being consistent with, committing to that dollar amount, here in the Midwest, probably 200 a month, probably where you're at, maybe 400 or 500 a month. And then committing to adding those properties in that spend for, 3+ months is important.
Got it. So, and then really, no matter what you are, an investor, wholesaler, real estate agent, there's no reason, if you're consistent, that you shouldn't expect to get phone calls at some point. Then it turns into you closing them by being aware of the markets you're sending in. So should people start in markets that they're familiar with, or what do you recommend? Should somebody in California be sending mailers to Texas,
Oh, yeah. Well, that's a great question. The important thing is to know is, just like a pawn shop, you can wholesale anywhere. But if you're lower budget, maybe you should go into the Midwest in one of those lower price markets, because that is where, the startup cost is lower. And either way, though, the best list is it exists right in your backyard. You have to go find it. But if you've got lower money to start, definitely would recommend going to do that in a lower price market. The only problem is you need to have somebody there to go add the properties, or use the Chrome extension, to go use the Google Maps method in one of those lower price markets.
Got it. Okay, so you could really pick where you want to do this, if you want to do that elsewhere. That's super interesting. Let's go back though to this last 11-year kind of almost bull market we've had in real estate. When did y'all start, and how have you been growing? Are you seeing more growth lately with this lack of inventory, or what's going on?
Yeah, with the lack of inventory, finding leads is more important than ever. So we have seen a huge spur of growth this past year. We actually went from 15 to 40 employees on our own deal machine team, to support that growth and then continue the growth into 2021. So yeah, when deals are hard to find, doing your own lead generation is super important. And so we've been able to help a lot of investors do that this past year.
40 employees, somebody's got to pay for all these people. Like, what do you need 40 employees for? That sounds expensive.
Yeah, our vision is long-term. So we want to continue making Deal Machine the best possible tool that investors can use to buy single family homes. So there's a lot of work to do. You start to need, specialists to monitor the database whenever you have an increase in users. So, we're fully focused on reinvesting profits from the business into making the business even better. So that's where that's coming from.
That's amazing. So you guys are growing like crazy, which means, if you went from 15 to 40 employees, you're growing like crazy. But geez, that's a lot of employees. But that's also, again, it must be a sign of phenomenal growth. Really, what you're saying is people are using Deal Machine more and more now, but I still feel like so few people are using Deal Machine relative to like how big the country is, which means I don't have to be worried about a ton of competition. Honestly, I never get postcards, which to me makes it seem like there's plenty of space for me to grow into and actually use Deal Machine before everybody knows about it, huh?
Absolutely. Yeah. The number of people using Deal Machine is probably right around like 10,000. So compared to how many people live in the US, it's minuscule.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yeah. Wow. I wonder how many counties there are. Let's see.
There's
How
3,000.
many counties? Oh wow, 3,000 counties in the country. Yeah, so you break that up like that, and these are 10,000 users. That's not a lot of competition, man. Even if you divide it out evenly, I could easily. I mean, if in my opinion, if I were going to sell a house and I got even a postcard from Redfin or an email from Redfin and a postcard from Kevin and an agent knocking on my door, I'd be talking to all of them, like to everybody, tell me what your price is. And hey, I could probably squeeze a deal because they don't have to pay an agent if I buy a deal directly. Obviously, if you're an agent doing it, you can go close a listing. But me as an investor or somebody trying to get into a rental property, I could go directly to an escrow company and they could save 5%, which, on a $300,000 house, that's going to save $15,000 in fees. There's an incentive to almost do these deals off market.
Definitely is a huge incentive to doing these deals off market. I completely agree.
Wow. I mean, that's super exciting. So, what do you see as the future? I mean, is your growth just like up and to the right now? And how does all that, like, is it just looking for more features for the program, or what's the growth strategy?
Well, once you do your first few deals, then you're going to need to grow your business further. You're probably going to need some software that does something slightly different, 5 seconds before you go driving for dollars and 5 seconds after you go driving for dollars. And, that next step may be, managing deal flows so that an additional team member you bring on can be held accountable. And so what we're focused on is providing additional tools that you would need once you get to that point. And that's going to be our growth strategy, is really focusing in on people acquiring single family homes.
Oh, that's amazing. And so, but I could send this to multifamily as well, right?
I mean, we have a filter on there that says, yeah, I mean, certainly you could add a multifamily property. You could see who owns it. Even if it's an LLC, you can still see the individuals that own that LLC, and you could get their phone numbers and call them or send them a mailer. You could certainly do that. And you could even filter by properties that have, a unit count of 4 to 10, if that's your criteria that you're looking for. We just agreed that we want to focus first, with our next set of software tools within Deal Machine, that it's going to be like the single family home as our main focus. So like one example of that is you could pull a list that's a little bit more specific than every door direct mail, right? You could say, show me all the vacant houses in Los Angeles. And that's like an additional thing that we recently added that these investors were asking for.
Oh, I mean, that's brilliant because everybody hates vacant real estate. I mean, that's just a money losing biz. I mean, that's great. If you could just click a button and target only vacant properties, you guys are adding that feature?
It's available now, actually.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's really exciting. And I'm looking here too. Yeah. I mean, you guys are definitely growing. I mean, just in the last couple of years, I pulled up your, just some website analytics here for Deal Machine. I mean, you guys are just straight up growth here. I mean, this is really exciting. So obviously, I mean, to be growing like this, it has to be successful for the people using it. And it must be, otherwise you wouldn't be growing like this. So really in this low inventory market, if you're like, I want to get into the real estate market, but I can't find anything because there used to be 400 homes on the market. And now there are like 70 homes on the market in whatever city you might be in. Maybe rather than kind of like head in the sand approach, fine, whatever, it's S&P 500 index fund for me. It's get out there and be a little bit more active about it, huh?
Totally. I mean, that was my approach. And I wanted more control over the returns I was getting than what the stock market was going to offer me. And that's why I got inspired to get my first rental, because even though appreciation may go up or down, if I manage it well and if I focus on getting that good deal, I have more control over, well, what is the money coming in versus the expenses going out. And that's why I was excited about real estate and why I started building that portfolio.
Got it. A couple questions here in the chat. One is any way to identify landowner, vacant lots?
Yeah. So on Deal Machine, there is on the map, there's like a highlights feature, for example. So you could put unit count 0, and then you would get parcels highlighted that have, no building on it because they have 0 units.
Oh, wow. So you could literally sort by vacant lots in certain areas if you wanted a vacant lot. That's amazing.
Right.
And then there's another one here. Will the mailer, and this is, I think, very important for rental properties, will the mailer go to the address or to the owner?
Really important question too, because you definitely want it to go to the owner, because if the owner lives at a different address, sending it to the tenant, the resident who lives in their rental property, won't do any good. So it does automatically look up the owner, and then it sends the mail to that owner's address.
Oh, wow. I'm just pulling this back up here. Let's see here. This, the app here. So here I found highlights. So I'm going to click vacant here and let's see, apply. So this is now just literally going to search for properties that should be vacant. And it should, I have to zoom into, here we go. Oh, here's something that got highlighted.
Yep.
So this is suggesting that this property right here, this 249, that this is a vacant property.
Right.
Okay, and so I like sending mail to vacant properties, they probably want to get rid of this at some point. So they should definitely get, yeah, look at that. It's even labeled vacant. Okay, and I just sent them a letter. So in addition to me looking for properties that look like fixers, I could also send these mailers to people who have vacant properties who might, here's another one, 67 North Dunning. Let's take a look. Oh, that looks like a duplex. So I'll go ahead and add lead because that one's vacant. Fascinating. And it's LLC owned. So even though it's LLC owned, is this going to go to that property address or to where that LLC owner is?
It's going to go to where that LLC owner is. And if you happen to open up that deal and you click the skip trace button, which we have not talked about yet, but that'll kind of tell you who owns the LLC and then what is their contact information.
Oh, wow. Let's try that. So skip trace. So each skip trace will cost 12 cents. Okay, let's do it. So this is going to load now, and it's going to pull up info on this LLC. Got it. Okay, here we go. Success. You have skip traced. Okay, so, oh my gosh, I just got their phone number and their email address. That's amazing. So I clicked a button, and now I literally have this LLC dude's address, email address, and phone number.
That's right. And you can tell it says business owner of Halza Plel Properties is Robert Florine. So that is the guy, that is the phone number that you got.
Oh, wow. That's really exciting. Okay, so I'm going to jump back here. I mean, this is amazing. Like, if I want to be really active in this, I could do a whole ton of stuff. I mean, this is cool. Oh, I could even post notes in here and that. So, like, why would somebody not use this?
It's a good question. Probably just because they might not know about it.
Or maybe they don't want to get into real estate, which I personally think everybody should get into real estate. This is so useful. Gosh, I want to see. Let's see here. So I could do this really to anyone who has even an LLC. How do you do that? How did you just get the LLC info like that?
Well, there's several databases. One of the ones that we tap into within the app is called Open Corporate. Because every Secretary of State office maintains a record of businesses and who owns them. The problem is sometimes there's a registered agent that could prevent you from finding who owns it, or maybe you're not really sure if the business is registered at that Secretary of State or not. So there's a lot of different databases and companies that their main focus is actually just like uncovering that information and then making it available. So like one of those that we do tap into is called Open Corporates, but then it's tied into our app, so you could quickly find that. Also add the phone number, and tie it to the property, so it's really seamless the way the Deal Machine provides that to you.
I think this is so cool. I'm gonna call this person right now. Let's do it. This is exciting. 69 Dunning. Let's see if this is Robert. Let's see if he answers. Or I'll leave a voicemail. So they could get my mailer.
Hello.
And my voicemail. All right, I got a voicemail. I'll leave a voicemail.
Please call again. Thank you for your call.
Oh, that doesn't sound like a voicemail.
Oh no,
I
like it's full or something.
Yeah, that one's probably full. I want to do this though. I'm gonna leave somebody a voicemail on this stream. I'm excited by that. That's really exciting. We'll go find another one, and I'll leave somebody a voicemail. But this is fun. So I mean, like, I could pay like so. I actually don't even have to send them a mailer. Tell me more about that. I could literally just call them and tell them for 12 cents instead of sending them a mailer for 55. Tell us more about that. How many people do that?
I would say more and more people are doing that because it is lower cost, but it does involve more of your time. So again, you've got to really do what works for you. And if you're an introvert, maybe the mail is the right approach because you know you're not going to be able to do hours of cold calling. So the cold calling has advantages because it's faster, it's more direct, and it's lower cost to get that data. But again, if you know yourself that you're an introvert and you're not going to get energy from making those calls, then I think the mail is the right way to go.
Wow. That makes sense. And the cool thing about the mail is it's automated. So really what you could do is you can automate your mailing, but then if you want to pick up and call them as well, you can do that.
Right.
So for example, I just found another vacant one here, and I don't know, like I feel like I'm taking over the live stream here, but doing this stuff. But this is exciting. Like here's one that's vacant again. I'm gonna send him a mailer. I got a mobile number. I just did the 12-cent skip trace. We got a mobile phone number. It has. I'm gonna call him right now. So I'm gonna take this out here. And let's see. At the very least, we're going to leave one voicemail here. So see how easy this is. So 805. Okay. I hope this person doesn't get blown up by like everybody on the live stream also calling them. But oh, okay. Hold on. Let's see. I misdialed. Okay, there it is. So a landline. Let's do this. So 805. Okay, I shouldn't say the number out loud, although it was just broadcast everywhere. I'm excited by this. Let's see if I can get them on. I'll put them on speaker here. So I'll play around. Oh, it's dialing. All right. Let's leave a voicemail. Oh, I need I don't know what property address. Let's get it here. Got it.
Did you call the landline or the mobile number?
Hello, we are not available.
I'll leave a message.
Please leave your name and phone number after the beep. We will return your call.
Hi, Jeer. My name is Kevin Paffrath. I'm a local real estate investor with a small family, and we're looking at your 221 Dalton. We saw that it was empty, and we wanted to, reach out to you and see if you would ever consider selling the property. If it's something you're interested in, we know you'd be able to save, probably 5-6% these days with how expensive real estate selling can be by selling it directly to us. We would love to hear from you. Reach out to me, either text me or call me. 805-727-3239. We'd love to see if there's a way our small family of real estate investors can take care of the property. And we're not flippers, so we're not like some corporation coming in trying to gentrify the area. We're really looking to maintain the character of homes, and we'd love to talk to you. Thanks so much. Again, 805-727-3239. Thanks. Bye. Cool, man. I'm excited. I think I'm going to be doing this the rest of the day today, man. So tell me, like, to me, like, this is something I could do all day long. I mean, I could do this anywhere. I'm sitting at a bus stop. I see a junky property, or I'm driving. I'm at a red light. I just drove by a place or whatever. I could do this stuff. What's to stop us from just doing this all the time? Like, instead of spamming on TikTok, I'm doing my deals.
There's nothing stopping you.
Wow. So what is there a difference between using the web app and the actual phone app itself? Like, do I get any better features on one over the other?
If you're physically out driving, they're actually largely the same. They're like 90% the same code base. They have pretty much the same functionality with a few exceptions here and there. But, if you're driving out on the street, you're definitely going to want the mobile app because it's going to respond better to what you're doing out there on the field. But, if you're on the desktop, it's going to be easier on your computer, most likely.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so maybe you get like a bigger screen or something on here. And I mean, tell me, like, I want to know about you. Why do you want to blow up your real estate portfolio? You've got a company cranking here. Why is it just something you're doing on the side as well? Is it,
I mean,
get some more real estate in the bag?
yeah, I mean, the whole reason why Deal Machine exists is because I was excited about getting into real estate, and that was because I could control my own destiny more so than like worrying about the fluctuations of like what the market's doing. So, I mean, that still holds true today. And so that's why I've continued to keep building the portfolio, because that was the original dream that I had. And I want to stay true to that. That still excites me.
Yeah, it really is exciting. And so, do you have the people who are using your app, are a lot of them in one particular area of the country, or are they pretty diverse?
Yeah, they're all over the United States. It is limited to the United States, but we even have people in Hawaii that are using the app to find properties there. So it's all over the US.
Oh wow, that's amazing. So and then Biden. I want to finish up on Biden here. Do you think there's any chance Biden's gonna pop a potential real estate bubble, if we're even in a bubble? A lot of people say that. Is there gonna be a foreclosure crisis? Are we gonna see this eviction crisis? What are your takes on that?
Oh boy, I don't think it'll happen in 2021 if it does. And
Mhm.
as a landlord, if there is a bubble and that does go down, which I know it probably will at some point go down because we're at the end of that short-term debt cycle, my strategy is going to be continue buying, because if the price goes down, I can buy more house at that point. And so I'm personally not too worried about any of that happening for me and what my strategy is currently.
Got it. So it doesn't matter if prices go up, prices go down. You're still going to be looking for those deals because you're really trying to buy properties that are under market value. So it really doesn't matter. The market is here. You're trying to buy under it. It's going down. You're trying to buy under it. It goes up.
Always.
You're trying to buy under that.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. So what about, I mean, how do people get started? Let's say they're watching, they're like, you know what, I'd be interested in maybe wholesaling some deals, or I want to find some deals for myself. I just want one rental property. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try it. What's the easiest way for people to get started? Getting into this app.
Oh yeah, we run live daily trainings. So if you go to metkevin.com/deals and then you do sign up for Deal Machine, specifically the driving for dollars component, we call it Street Engine. The next thing you're going to see is free 7-day trial. And then the next thing you're going to see is sign up for this live training. So you're going to get on the call with us and we're going to walk you through in more detail, step by step, what you need to do to go find the deal with Deal Machine. And then there's a second live training you can get on that helps you step by step sell that deal if you're going to wholesale it, for example. So we provide and have invested in, you were asking like, what do the 40 people do? We've invested a lot in resources like that live training so that we can walk people through step by step, and there's no cost to that. And you can gain access to it by starting that free trial of Deal Machine. Specifically, that Street Engine is what you'd want to do for the driving for dollars portion that we talked about today.
Got it. So you've actually got educational videos on top of this. Now, how hard is it to get started?
You can ask questions.
Oh, they're live.
Yeah, every day.
Oh, wow. So how hard is it to get started? I mean, like you got to pick a postcard or like you get your photo in there. It sounds like there could potentially be this barrier of going from download to actually like getting your first postcard out. How do people get through that? How long is it going to take if somebody's like, all right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do this? How much time commitment is there to go from, all right, I just heard about it, to first postcard going out? I'm very impatient. I got to know.
30 seconds. I mean, we've provided 10 different postcard examples that would apply to any situation where you're looking for real estate using this method. So you could easily start your trial, add a property, send the mail, go on to add the second property. It would just take 30 seconds.
Got it. And now Off-Road Treks here said, or I'm sorry, not here. Safe with Bill. It says, many people are behind on home loan payments. I would wait to buy. I have been doing real estate for 25 years. Foreclosures will go to the moon after the moratorium is extended or removed. I'm sorry. There is a lot of this fear right now that, yeah, I mean, like, okay, as soon as that expiration comes, it's over, which I have to say, the expiration was supposed to be December 31st, and then it was supposed to be January 31st, and now it's looking like September. Is the government just going to keep kicking this foreclosure moratorium down the road, and is Biden going to prevent a lot of this, or what's your take?
I personally try really hard not to time the market because I just feel like it's gambling, and things happen in ways that you'd never anticipate. I mean, just look at GameStop. You know, you could have never ever predicted that. That was not a rational thing that you could have predicted. So I just try really hard to not time the market in the short term.
Okay. So I want to. Jack and Max stole my. They came in here and stole my whiteboard. That's a problem. So I'll pull up something else. I want to really hit on that point because I think there are a lot of people who might be a little confused by that of just not timing the market and always getting in, because there's a lot of fear, and that fear is consistently. Well, I don't know if now's the right time. You know, this could happen, that could happen. I mean, back in 2012, arguably one of the best times to buy real estate, people were saying there's going to be a double dip recession. That's it. This is the end. You know, this is just the beginning of the end, and it never happened. And I see this, like, I mean, my entire career. You know, whether it was 2010, it's going to be a double dip. 2011, 12, no way. The double dips, it's next month. It's coming. It was even 2015, 16. People were like, oh my gosh, prices went up. No way. It's not sustainable. It's going to pop. And it literally just keeps going and going and going. It's nuts. And so really to exemplify this, I think with a drawing here, you know, if the real estate cycle does this, it tends to trend, and I want to verify that this is what you're thinking, it tends to trend up in the long run, you know, 30, 40 years or whatever. And so the goal as a long run investor, maybe not necessarily a flipper here, the goal is to really just buy, you know, like this, you know, whether that's 30% under whatever the market's doing, something like that. But that way you're always, I'm buying my first place, I'm buying my next place, I'm buying my next one. And yeah, there's sometimes you're buying up, sometimes you're buying down. Is that what you're saying?
It is what I'm saying. Yep. That picture was really helpful.
Okay. So got it. And Deal Machine is something, I mean, really, there's no, I mean, I guess the biggest danger is maybe if you're sending, all of a sudden you just load in 10,000 mailers and you don't have the money to do that. That would probably be an issue. So there's probably this balance where you should probably do a budget. And should people just go all in on 1 month, or should they try to spread this out over 6 months? Like when they're setting this up, how should they budget?
Yep. They need to commit to 3 months. If they're in the Midwest, that's probably $200 a month. If they're in California, it's probably like $500 a month. And the cost is going towards the mailers or the, you know, skip tracing and cold calling that you're doing, as well as that software fee, which stays flat no matter what market you're in. But I really want to emphasize, like, having those expectations set and knowing that it is not an instantaneous overnight result. I mean, sometimes it is, and that's great. But for success, I want you to plan for the longer period of time that you'd want to commit to.
Okay, I understand. So it takes a time commitment. It's probably not overnight. It could be. What kind of postcards are people getting? Are these like black and white? Are they color? Or is it just, you know, some black and white text? You know, I know there's a picture, but tell me more about what people should expect, like size wise and all of that.
Yeah, well, you could show it in your app. We should have all the templates preloaded in there too, but they're all color. They are they're colored postcards on both sides. I would say like 9 out of 10 of them are designed so that when you see the property, you take a picture of it and it puts the picture of the house that you actually took on both sides of the postcard. The reason for that is because if these homeowners are getting other postcards, a lot of them are so impersonal and mass produced that when they see their actual house on it, even the ones that you take with your cell phone that aren't Google Images, the response I often hear is like, hey, I got a lot of mail, but I contacted you because it looks like you put a lot of time and effort into this. I can see you took a picture of my house. And so I wanted to hear what you had to say. So yeah, what you've got on the screen there are like 3 of the 10 preset postcards that we will preload into all the accounts. From there, you can actually customize what it says, but they're ready to go as is as well. And you can even change the color there too with the tools at the bottom.
Oh, and oh, I see. Interesting. So I can pick a size. There's ballpoint letters as well. Tell me about this.
Okay, well, the ballpoint letters are going to help increase your response rate. They are a little bit more expensive because they are written with a robot that holds an ink pen. So it actually holds like a big pen and writes it out in cursive, whatever it is your message says. So those are an option too. We didn't talk about yet.
So like, here's just a template, right? I could change this to whatever I want. I'm interested in purchasing your property at, obviously the address would just get customized to whatever pin I put in. The picture is whatever pin I put in it, whether it's from Google or I uploaded the picture, but all my other info stays the same, like my number, my my email and all that stuff. I could customize that, but you're actually saying I could, here I think is an example. I could have this be handwritten with this ballpoint letter, and people will actually think that it's handwritten, but it's done by a robot.
Yeah, exactly. It's not an inkjet, but it's actually a pen. That's right.
And so it's not just a font; it's actually a pen that's doing it.
It is, yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. Okay, and you're actually noticing higher conversion. I mean, it says it here. They arrive faster. And feature a human applied stamp. Oh, good. So we get some crookedness, which again, I guess actually in a weird way helps. And then the ballpoint letters you get. That's really interesting. I've never even heard about robots doing handwriting. But it makes sense. It used to be back in the day that you would purposefully try to handwrite to, like you said, make it feel like more effort went into it and it was less commercialized. And you have a way to do that with these templates automatically here.
Right.
Oh, wow. That's incredible. Wow. I mean, I'm excited. I mean, I love this. I mean, I've been using this. I'm at, I think, 500 mailers now or something like that per 21 days. My goal is getting to 10,000 by the end of this year, if not more. So I've got some big goals, some big eyes for this year. But I want to blow up my real estate portfolio. You know, I'm at 549 now, so I'm excited by that. 539.
Oh, that's the number of properties in your Deal Machine account?
Yeah. Here, that's and I gotta get this up. I gotta scale this to 10K. That's my goal. So you could see I went on this like insane blitz, and I added so many. And my goal is to get this to 10K that are going out per month. I feel like if I have this at 10K per month, there's no way my phone is not going to be ringing off the hook because these things are going out every 21 days. I feel like I'm going to get inundated. So we'll see. This will be an experiment. This year will be a good experiment. I'm going, if I can by June get to 10K, then I'll have a solid 6 months of 10K going out a month. It'll be really fun.
That's right. Hey, well, also congrats on the 3 deals you closed already this year. You're off to a great start.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I'm definitely looking for more, so I appreciate that. Cool. Well, hey, any last thoughts that you have? This has been really insightful.
Man, the thoughts that I always like to close with is just know the expectations. Don't give up too early. Don't start unless you know you can commit to 3 months. And there's a high chance that you'll be very successful if you can commit to following through on those expectations that we discussed. And I wish you all the best. It's an honor to be a resource for you guys. So, reach out to us within the app or join one of those live trainings, and we would love to see you there and help you.
So, and again, those are not recorded. Like, those are actually like real human people that you have helping you get your questions answered.
Yeah, we run multiple live trainings per day, like 3 or 4 every weekday.
Oh, wow. 3 or 4 every weekday. Jeez, man. Okay, so the customer service is there. So it's different than like Robinhood, where you send an email and you don't hear back.
Well, I haven't used Robinhood, so I can't speak to that. But yeah, I mean, our chat support, we make sure you get replies within 5 minutes, and that's always measured, and you can even see that. But then the live trainings are just like an additional thing that we offer. You can sign up for time slots and join one of those and talk for an hour plus. And those are groups. You'll have other people on those calls too, which can be helpful because other people have questions you don't think of.
Yeah,
So and I feel like
absolutely.
live is so rare these days that that's the direction we took and invested in. And we've been really pleased with the feedback we've gotten on it.
That's amazing. I'm just looking here at the analytics too. It looks like a ton of y'all have been going to metkevin.com/deals. Check it out. It's a software that I use. I'm gonna be blowing this up, and this year, stay tuned for many updates on that. So I'm super excited. A long time ago, like 2012, I used to do custom postcards myself, and I had to send them off to a printer. And it would take me like 4 weeks to get the postcards back to me. I'd get these big UPS boxes. Then I had to bundle them. I'd put like a twine around them and I'd manually deliver them to the post office.
Mm-hmm.
And then the post office would send them out to everybody in certain neighborhoods. And like I would get calls from it, but the amount of work that went in was so exhausting. I couldn't do it more than like 4 or 5 months. And I'm like, I'm burned out. Here, I push a button and it's done forever. It just keeps going. Absolutely amazing. I'm blown away. I really like this service a lot. So if you're interested in this and you want to learn more about the app, go to metkevin.com/deals. metkevin.com/deals. Check it out. You've got the founder, David, here, who just so gratefully took his time or graciously took his time here and helped us answer some of our questions. I'm stoked. We're gonna have to do another one of these in the future and follow up because this is really exciting. So again, metkevin.com/deals, and appreciate it.
Thank you so much. One thing we can do on the next one is instead of looking at vacant properties on the map, I can show you the part of Deal Machine where you can just download all of those properties in your zip code that are vacant or whatever that criteria is, and take some bulk actions. So that could be an idea for a follow-up.
Oh, that'll be nice. So in other words, rather than me looking for the highlighter on the map, I could just go automatically add all my vacants for me. I want to hit all of those, huh?
Right.
Oh, too fun. Too fun. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. This has been a blast. And again, metkevin.com/deals if you're interested to learn more. And we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Kevin.